We are about to go hard into the facts, but first things first. Number 1, I am about to tell you the truth. Number 2, if you don't agree, I don't care, and if you don't believe it, you are fast asleep or living in denial. Number 3, for all you COINTELPRO coons out there, I have my bases covered and you have no idea how well. I am not the spook who sat by the door, I am the Django Plus, that 1 in 1 million who destroys the mental foundation of the plantation trap. Just so you know. Now let's get into exposing America's plan for black depopulation. Notice I did not speak eugenics and say America's population control plan. Why not? Because that is a moot point. So many of you are already controlled by government handouts disguised as entitlements, food stamps, WIC etc., the Democratic Party of slave owners, and their lineage, and political COINTELPRO coons you helped to elect. That this article is not likely to make you give any of that up. Why not? Because Massa knows best. And he has said these things are good for you. Are you mad yet? Keep reading, I challenge you to think. The plantation never closed and slavery never ended, it all just changed form. From the Willie Lynch plan to the King Alfred plan, Planned Parenthood, created by racist Margaret Sanger, to Roe v. Wade, Rex 84 to COINTELPRO that made you think Josiah Henson, African-American hero often called Uncle Tom, was a traitor to his people. Far too many of you have been deceived. The sociological, psychological, propaganda, and strategies used to divide African American families from slavery to now while having us turn on each other and stay distracted as we are being annihilated are hard at work. And very successful. Sadly, I just lost far too many of you as you read this paragraph. So let's take one element of America's plan for black depopulation at a time. Reducing the black population from the womb. The plan. Get us before we emerge, because the powers that be cannot afford to have another Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman or Louis Farrakhan. So what has happened? First, they were giving our women unnecessary hysterectomies so they could not have children. Then they moved to using the black church to poison the minds of our women to kill more and more of their innocent, unborn children. How so? By using propagandized titles like A Woman's Right to Choose, or even more recently Women's Reproductive Rights. But no matter how anybody disguises it, abortion plain and simple is the murdering of innocent unborn children, and still, black women as a whole are not outraged about that. Why not? Because the indoctrination allowing them to escape accountability and responsibility for their convenience sits well with them. But I guess they forgot to look up and realize who is watching what they do for convenience and to shirk responsibility. And while I don't have to judge because that is taken care of without me, I do have to speak out on behalf of the millions of innocent, unborn children killed in a place where they should have been safe, the mother's womb. Black women are being placed in power to control black men. This is textbook Willie Lynch. Make the black women mentally stronger so they can control the black men, thereafter controlling the black family and community. But mentally strong is not enough without the power to subvert the targets. And if this sounds like a covert war, that is exactly what it is. A war that most African Americans are oblivious to. Feminism has infected the African American community, and it is not about equal rights. It is about more rights, power over black men, and controlling us based on Massa's instructions. The control worked when Massa set up so many HBCUs, Spelman, Morehouse, Clark, Howard etc. It worked when they burned down Black Wall Street. It works today when you find that black women in judicial and or political power have a white husband overseer. I won't call any names, but do just a tap of homework and you will know who they are. Wake up, people. Now you may disagree because you say Obama became president. My response? Think about who his overseer was for 8 years and it will come to you. You may say Kamala Harris is vice president and Ketanji Brown is a Supreme Court justice, but you would yet again be making my point for me. You may even say Keisha Lance Bottoms was the mayor of Atlanta, and has an African American husband. My response? Her husband was not the man who kicked her political butt, made an example of her, embarrassed her, took her to court and trampled on her authority as mayor. Guess who that was? The real overseer. Do you know yet? And I could go on to give you example after example where African American females are being placed in power to do the bidding of their overseers. The colonizers knew most blacks would not connect the dots. And to this day, many of you didn't. Some of you did. But most of those were afraid to say anything. Or quite a few just didn't care because they were hooked on what appeared to be free giveaways from the Democratic Party. Even when they tell you to kill your unborn children. Even when they tell you to disarm yourself, though there are not enough police to protect you. Even when they support the rainbow, completely deceiving you about its meaning. Even when they promote LGBTQ perversion, confusion, abnormality. Even when they reward black women with more goodies if black men are not in the home, thereby incentivizing the further deterioration of the black family. Even when they destroy the natural order of things and shove immorality down the throats and in the minds of your children. For those who decide to work anyway, and as long as they are willing to work at a fast food place, the Democratic Party will work to keep them there by requiring a wage that will make them stay and rise no higher. But remember, Massa knows what's best for us. Wrong? By now you are either nodding your head because you know these things are true or shaking your head because you are in denial. Still, these are the facts. The more people stick their heads in the sand and refuse to believe what is happening, the easier it can happen. Ask the Jewish people who survived the Holocaust. Ask those who didn't leave Germany because they didn't believe such a thing would ever happen. You can't ask them because they were exterminated by Hitler and the Nazis. The Democratic Party used to control black people. If you know the history of the Democratic Party, you also know it was instrumental in the build-up of the KKK. You know the Democratic Party voted against the Civil Rights Act. The Democratic Party was in the South and these were the slave owners. Slaves who were, you guessed it, black people. But maybe what you didn't know is that the Democratic Party's real agenda was to capture and keep black people's loyalty and dependency on the party because the party really believed black people were too ignorant to take care of themselves without help. Along with this help in the form of entitlements, was not a door of opportunity, but rather a trapdoor. Double agents, coons and the social psychology of depopulation. When you have heard lies for so long from an oppressor you trust, you will be hard-pressed to believe the truth. That is how indoctrination works. And your denial serves as a protective mechanism to keep the lies in place while protecting the oppressor who uses them to oppress you. Harriet Tubman could have freed more slaves if they had realized they were slaves. If they had realized captivity, their women being raped, their men being breeders, beatings by a slave master and separation of their families was not the natural, normal order of things. But many slaves with no real sense of identity could not fathom what I have just told you. And so it is today, the same for those black people stuck in mental slavery. The same people who are comfortable in being taken care of by masses' self-worth crushing entitlement program handouts. The same people in power only because Massa says so and not having any power over him. They are the hop-in bobs amongst us. They are loyal to Massa, do what they are told and will only appear to help their people while actually working against us. They are those who yesteryear would have told Massa when we were escaping the plantation. And they will do the same thing today. There you have it, enough to get you thinking, researching the truth, resisting extermination, and maybe even establishing a counterplan. Helping your own people, saving our unborn children, and building your independence. And while I do not make the claim that this article covers it all, it does cover enough to open the eyes of any African American who wants to see. Well, on behalf of the white people in America, I would like to say this. Wake up, black people, wake up before our plans makes it where you can't.
For more of these fascinating stories and true crimes, subscribe to Charles Arnis World. Thanks for watching.